You talk about how this role came about, and it seems like a real nice sort of meaty part to play, especially playing in a reality-based picture like this.
Yes, exactly. I guess it came to me the old-fashioned way. My agent sent it to me, and as soon as I finished it, I knew it was something I wanted to be a part of, and I met with Mark, I think, a couple of days later. This was about 6 months, I think, prior to production. And after I had spent, I think, that breakfast meeting speaking with Mark, who had actually spent quite a bit of time with Sam and Lynn at that point, he was able to sort of share with me a little bit more about their story, and it's a complex story, obviously. And I was so intrigued at that point. I knew I was going to kind of fight hard for this one and really stick with it. And then I read for the role, I think in maybe May or June, shortly after I think I finished Source Code, actually, right after, and got the role. So I was so incredibly grateful, because it was definitely something I wanted to be a part of, obviously, because of the significance of the story. I mean, it's a true story, and it's compelling, it's provocative, but also it's a woman that's really kind of right up my alley.
Yeah.
So and therefore was able to spend a lot of time with Lynn as well.
Did you get to spend time with Sam as well to find out?
I did. It was originally, he wasn't meant to be there. I think he was meant to be somewhere else, and then luck would have it that he was there that weekend when I went to visit Lynn in Central City. And that was actually really invaluable, because I was able to really be witness to their complicated relationship. And I was really able to understand the dynamics between the two of them. And really, Lynn answered every question I posed her, and I asked her some pretty tough questions. And she was very forthcoming. I think that first night we stayed up until about 4 o'clock in the morning. Finally, Sam went to bed at 2. And then that's kind of when we got to the nitty-gritty, and I guess really to the heart of the matter. And she's a woman that's going off on a tangent now, but maybe I'll answer a couple of questions along the way. She's endured a lot, and she's someone who I really consider to be the quiet giant of that family. I think she's probably saved Sam's life a couple of times, and it has not been an easy road. They've sacrificed a lot. She has, especially, but she's done it for the good of these children, and to me that's incredibly humbling, to be that selfless and to potentially really have a difficult marriage as a result of that. So I have a lot of respect for her. I think she's the backbone of that man.
So what do you see as the key to her personality in terms of you portraying her?
Well, I would say the thing that is most steadfast about her is her faith. And the thing that was how grounded she is as a person. She's not an emotional person, and I say that with all due respect. She doesn't get angry, she doesn't get upset. She's very confident, and as a result of her faith. And that's not like me at all. I'm a very emotional person, and I'd say I'm kind of up here quite a bit. So it was probably the first time actually as an actor that I really ignored my instincts. My instincts wanted me to unleash and be angry and be upset, because that is probably what I would have done, what most women might do in that situation. But she's very grounded, so it was really, really important for me to convey that and be honest about that, because obviously she's a real person and I have a responsibility to her. And as I said, I respect her a great deal. So, and because of who she is, it was an entirely different performance to the one that I may have given had it not been her.
Was there a particular scene where you started to lash out because it was your natural instinct?
Yes, it was the scene in which he takes the money from the safe, and that scene really happened, that really happened, and that was a really hard one for me to reconcile. I remember that day, it was a really challenging scene for Jerry and I to do together. For Mark to direct, it was really just a great effort, because it took everything in all of us to fight against what I think human nature is. And what's so powerful about her is her strength, and that is what's empowering. And so every time I had to kind of ground myself. And my mantra really was quiet giant, quiet giant, quiet giant. And that's who I think she is through and through.
In a story like this, usually the relationship will wind up being second fiddle to the main story, which is, you know, Sam fighting the Sudan. Were you surprised that the relationship was more front and center in the movie?
Well, no, actually, because I think it is really ultimately in their lives front and center. I think it's, you know, it's their relationship that allows Sam to continue on his crusade. You know, she spent a lot of sleepless nights before he turned his life around, and yet she still continues to spend a lot of sleepless nights. You know, I think they've both come to an agreement that this is where Sam belongs and this is what he needs to do, and she's very content running the Shekinah Fellowship Church. But at the same time, you know, he's in a lot of danger in where he goes to and the things that he encounters on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's always front and center in what they do. But the priority, you know, for both of them is to continue what they're doing in Sudan.
From spending time with her, how close did your character in the film stick to her personality, really? I mean, did you...
I would have to say that it was a very concerted effort on my part, and I will say that she was very happy,
Okay.
and Sam was very happy, and you know, also the qualities that maybe you don't even see that much of it, you can't glean maybe that much from, is she's very sassy. And you know, I thought that was such an interesting thing. You know, people somehow think, well, gosh, can you have a lot of faith? Can you have God in your life and still be kind of sassy? You can. You can speak to them about that, you know, and I think just really, you know, also what was so important is that this is a couple that I did spend a lot of time with, and Jerry will agree, Sam will agree as well, that they have a real passion for each other. This couple loves each other through and through, and I think that is what really binds them. You know, they have, you know, I think there's one scene that they were kind of disappointed in, and that was the scene in the Pinto. They were very adamant that they would have had that Pinto rocking, and that it wasn't rocking enough. So that kind of gives you some insight to who they are as a couple, and that they have a real sense of humor about them, which I thought is really cool because, you know, listen, they've really looked at evil in the eye, you know, and they still do, but yet they still have a real sense of humor and love and passion for each other, and a great deal of appreciation. And I think Sam said to me maybe even yesterday, he's never been more in love with her, you know. And I think maybe, you know, when you sort of see a movie like this, and you see your life and you see how it's sort of interpreted, but I think it's meant a great deal for them to be